So last night my wife asked me, if your voice is that messed up, why don't you just take a week off from the channel? And I said, because I got no place left to go. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back to talk a little TBR for the fall of 2021. Yes, my voice is still messed up, and yes, the show must go on. So look at it this way, guys. At least you'll get to see the progress of me getting better, and then when I'm back to 100%, you'll be like, that's why we're here. Okay, at least that's what I hope. That's the plan right now. But I'm going to kind of talk about October, November, December reading plans. Like I've told you guys before, I don't like to kind of do one of these per month because I don't know, I have too much stuff to talk about to be scheduling a TBR video every single month. So I like to do it once a quarter. Now, I have already done the one for October for spooky season. Now, if you haven't caught that, I'm going to kind of glide through that one rather quickly. If you want more detail about why I've decided to read some of those, make sure you hit up this video right here where I tell you all of my plans for October, including videos as well as reading plans or whatever. But let's go ahead and talk about this now. I don't have physical copies. I'm going to be reading them on the old Kindle. I plan to do Heart-Shaped Box by Joe Hill, son of Stephen. I've read Nosferatu. I enjoyed it quite a bit, so I'm looking forward to Heart-Shaped Box. I love Lock and Key. And also, my first Harlan Ellison book. I'll be reading I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. It's kind of how I feel right now. But I don't know much about either of them, but I'm very excited to do those. And then, guys, we did start the Malazan book this month, which is Bone Hunters, which I'm kind of going through rather quickly. I'm not going to lie, guys. It's really good. There's a chapter in here that was like 120 pages. And I think it is like at least on par with like The Last Battle in Memory of Light, Wheel of Time. It's really that good. It's one of the best battle sequences I've read in all of fantasy. And that's not hyperbole, so I look forward to talking about that more. Now, I already finished this one, but it was in my October TBR, so I'm going to talk about it. Of course, it's Uzumaki by Junji Ito. I had planned on reviewing this week before the voice thing happened, so I don't know if that's going to still happen this week, but if not, it'll happen next week. That's the plan. As of right now, I don't know. It's just kind of depending how this progresses or regresses. Hopefully not. You know, you'll start feeling better, and then you go to bed, and it feels terrible again. So that's just kind of how it goes. Then if things are rolling along as I hope, I'll be doing some John Lange with The Fisherman. I've heard some really, really good stuff about this book. Very Lovecraftian theme, so I'm very excited. That's really all I've heard about it. And then, of course, closing down the month of spooky season, October, will be Necroscope by Brian Lumley, a vampire book that I haven't checked out, but everyone jumped on me in my Anne Rice video saying that vampires weren't scary in fiction anymore, and everybody said, well, you got to read Brian Lumley in the Necroscope series. So mixed reactions on that first book, but I'm hoping I like it enough that I want to continue with that series. But guys, let's go ahead and get on to the new stuff here. That's going to be November, December, and first up is obviously November. Okay, so first things first, yes, Into the Multiverse and the great Michael Crichton reread will be resuming in November. Obviously, the Michael Crichton book is going to be Rising Sun, a book that you think about its legacy and people don't talk about it very much, is because this is the book he followed up Jurassic Park with, and it was going to be impossible for him to follow that up. No matter what he put out, people were going to say it wasn't as good as Jurassic Park. Now, in my memory, it's one of my least favorite Crichton ones, but my least favorite Crichton book is better than most of my other authors' favorite book, so I'm excited to revisit this one. Being a little older, I think it'll be something I'm really much more interested in. As for the King book, in November, we'll be doing Gerald's Game. I just reread that in 2017, right before the Mike Flanagan adaptation of the movie came out on Netflix, so I won't be rereading it a third time, but I will be making the video for it in case you're wondering there. So if you still want to continue to read along, you can pick up Gerald's Game, a book I highly, highly recommend, and I think you'll enjoy what you read. Then I'll be picking up Life of Pi by Mr. Jan Martel. This is a book that my wife read a couple years ago. We kind of have this agreement in our house here, where if I read a book, if there's a movie, we'll watch it together. If she reads a book, if there's a movie, we'll watch it together. Well, she read Life of Pi a couple years ago, and we watched the movie, and I was blown away by how much I enjoyed it. I thought it was just fantastic. So I said, I've got to read this book now and see if I get even close to the emotional reaction that the movie gave me. So I'm very excited to find out. Richard Parker is just such a great, great character, if you can call a non-speaking tiger a character, but just a really, really heartfelt story. I'm hoping, like I said, that was a really good adaptation, because this is a story that I thought was just magnificent, and I very much love a good survival tale. And I know you really wouldn't classify this as a survival book to me. If you're on the ocean and you have limited supplies, yeah, that kind of falls into survival for me. But I know that's not what the theme of the book is, but I'm looking forward to finding out if it is quite as good. Now, I know I've said recently that I was going to delay Poppy War, but I was going to finish it this fall. Well, I've decided to shelve it for now. And let me explain why. Like, this is how far I am into book 2. That's where I kind of stalled out. And that was because I had other commitments I had. We had to read along. I had review copies. There was new Joe Abercrombie. There was a new Stephen King. All that stuff, I kind of had to move ahead of it. And I said, I'll pick that up later. And I just got to the point where I said, look, this is kind of falling in that point where I'm not disliking it enough to DNF it, but I'm not liking it enough that I need to shove it into an already busy schedule. So I might finish book 2 if I got some downtime, since I'm already halfway through it. But book 3, I'm pushing it for now. I hope you don't take that as me saying I don't like the series. Like I said, I feel like I'm just kind of almost indifferent to it. I like the first book a lot, and the second book just kind of lost me a little bit into where I just don't know what direction she's going with the story. And I don't know. The ending of that might end up being really good. I've heard it is, and I might say, screw it, I'm going to go ahead and fit it in. It really just kind of depends on how things go. November is kind of light here. So what am I going to replace that with in my schedule? Well, you guys know I did recently talk about Recursion by Blake Crouch, and I reviewed Dark Matter earlier this year, and I loved both of those books. So I decided I'm going to go ahead and dip into this Wayward Pines trilogy. I only have books 2 and 3 to show you. Book 1 has been ordered. It just isn't here yet. But these look like quick reads, so I figured I could just knock out the whole trilogy in the month of November. I've heard some really, really cool stuff about it. People say it's very different than Dark Matter Recursion. I'm like, well, okay, that's good. I want different. I've heard it's basically like if Stephen King was writing Twin Peaks is how it was sold to me. I'm like, well, that sounds really wicked. So I don't know what to expect with it, but I've just got this feeling after 2 books that Blake Crouch, like I kind of anointed him the next Michael Crichton in that Recursion review, and I'm going to find out kind of if that's the case here. So these might not be as much science-based as those 2 are, but if it is very much a thriller in that style. Again, I think this is just going to be an author that absolutely clicks for me, and I'm excited to find out with Wayward Pines in November. Now let's go ahead and roll along to the holiday season of December. So what better to kick off the month of December but yet another brick of a Malazan book. This one will be book number 7 in the series. This is Reaper's Gale. And believe it or not, they get thicker and thicker as the series goes on. That's amazing to me. I don't even know how they get these to stick together on mass market paperback, because they're just insane. Like you can't read these guys. I got about 100 pages into what am I reading right now? Bone Hunters. And I said, I'm switching to the Kindle version because I don't want to crack the spine. So these are just very expensive doorstops. Yeah, doorstops now. I think that just kind of sit on my shelf. That's kind of the goal with it right now. But if Reaper's Gale continues this trend, I love book 5. I'm really enjoying book 6 so far. I think that he's going to stick the landing, I hope. I'm very excited about where that series is right now. I'm very, very optimistic because of where I'm at in Bone Hunters right now. It's just great stuff. As far as the Michael Crichton book for the month, that will be Disclosure, the book that I think is very, very underrated. It's a quick read, guys. You can read this in a day. It's one of his quicker ones. And it presented some questions at the time. Like, I think if this book came out today, Michael Crichton would be the enemy of certain social media apps. But this is one of those that presented some ideas that a lot of people were kind of scared to say about harassment in the workplace and how it is not gender specific. And it was something that was ahead of its time, I think. And there's a lot of things in here that Crichton did what he does, and he predicted things that were just around the corner. Like I remember reading a New York Times review of this when it came out, and it was making fun of Crichton for predicting virtual databases and basically the Kindle, and saying that it was just an impossibility in our lifetimes. And hey, what do you know? Kindle videos are what made this channel the size that it is today. So thanks, Mr. Crichton. For the Into the Multiverse for December, we'll be doing Dolores Claiborne by Mr. King. Man, he just had some really cool covers back then, man. I just love the gold print. That and Needful Things both had that. With this one, I don't recall very much. I think at the time, this came out like right around, I read it and Joel's Game almost like back to back. And I remember at the time, it was like, this is a very different style for Stephen King. And so at the time when I believe in his words, he said he was writing as a woman for a while there. And it was just a new wave of his career that was just kind of taking off. And if I recall correctly, this one is not quite like the movie. The movie is very linear, where this is just like, it's the confession of the lead character. But so, I mean, he just kind of took that narrative differently in the movie. And it's going to be hard for me to separate because I love the movie with Kathy Bates. Because again, it was like Kathy Bates and Stephen King are just kind of synonymous now. They're just kind of going together. You know, they're like almost like Frank Darabont and Stephen King were there for a while. So I'm looking forward to revisiting it. And again, another short one for King. This is actually very, very quick. So I imagine I'll knock both of those out rather easily. So what could I possibly have for the rest of December? If you guys go all the way back, God, it was about at least a year ago. I did a video where I said I feel like I haven't been attacked for it or anything, but I felt like it was something that I wanted to do. I wanted to read more female fantasy authors. And you go back and you watch that list, and I've read a lot of them. You know, I've read Robin Hobb, I've read Leigh Bardugo. Go back and watch the list. You can see that, wow, I wasn't just bullshitting. I was actually wanting to try a lot of those, and I did. But what kind of blew me away when I revisited it was the one that I had, number 2, I hadn't started yet, and that was Anna Stevens and the Godblind trilogy. Now, people who don't know anything about this series, it was sold to me as, imagine Joe Abercrombie's First Law with a lot more gods in it. And I said, well, you got my attention already. I checked out her social media a while back after I heard that, and it was very, very amusing to me. People were messaging her saying like, oh, God, you made me feel things, or you hurt my feelings, stuff like that. And she's like, haha, I ruined another reader and stuff. It's just, I think stuff like that's just hilarious when it comes to grimdark authors, that they just embrace that. They get power off of our tears. Now, I don't know if this series is going to live up to that billing. There are some readers on the Discord who I trust who have said very, very good things about it. So I'm excited to dive in. Don't know if I'm going to be able to get the whole trilogy done in a month, and I'm going to try. You know, I usually do this thing where I'll do like, I'll do like 3 or 4 different series, and I'll do 1 book per month of each. With this and with Wayward Pines, I want to try to do those all sequentially because, the story's done. You've waited this long. And how cool are these covers, by the way? These are just awesome. Anyway, I don't hear enough people talk about this series, but I guess I can't say why because I haven't read it, so it sounds weird for me to say not enough people talk about it. But it's like the people who have read it have really, really great things to say about it. So I'm excited to do it. She did actually reach out on social media and says that she hopes that I enjoy it. So I always love me an interactive author, so hopefully I really like this series, and who knows, maybe we can talk to her on the channel or something like that. So I'm excited to get into that. And I know some people said they wanted to read those along with me, so December, guys, after the Malazan book, that's when we'll be diving into that one. That should wrap up the rest of 2021. Now, the rare occasion comes up where I do have some extra time on my hands. I have been kind of on a reading renaissance lately, where I went through a little slump there for a while towards the middle of the year, and I think it was because of House of Chains, and I know that people hate hearing that. But I said really good things about Malazan this episode, so you guys can't get mad. I think that I was struggling a little bit, and then, boom, Sci-Fi September happened, and man, I was just a machine. I've been reading like crazy lately, and I think I found my groove again. It happens. It goes back and forth. I have once a year I have a thing or a stretch where I'm like I got like a bad combination of like 3 books in a row that were just boring me or whatever, and that's why I said, okay, I'm just going to stop doing that. If I get to a series and it's just not doing it for me, if I want to DNF it, like I did Demon Cycle, like I did Lightbringer. If you want to just kind of delay it for a while, like Poppy War, go for it. Or maybe like, I've delayed Aragon like 3 years now. I'm beginning to wonder if that one's going to happen. So, basically I'm just going to be kind of, now if I have something that's very hard for the schedule for the channel, like Michael Crichton, like Stephen King Office, I'm not going to get bored of those. Those are rereads mostly. And then, of course, Malazan, I'm going to keep doing that. But, some of these other ones, I'm just kind of doing on a whim, if I'm not liking them, man, I'm going to kind of push them and try other things that I want to get to. Because, guys, I got way more stuff that I want to read than I have time to read. So why spend it reading something that's not really moving the needle for me? That's what I say. They'll always be there. We can always go back to them later. Now, if I do have some extra time, there are a couple of things. I wouldn't mind moving forward one of the Expanse books. I think the next one I got is Abaddon's Gate. That's Expanse number 3. I think that'd be a good one-off. Something, a series I can read slowly, just pick up one every now and then and kind of go along with it. Or I'll just move some things forward, probably my Crichton and my King, which would be Lost World and Insomnia. And if you know Insomnia is a beast of a book. In January, we are starting a new epic fantasy series on the Discord by some dude named Tad Williams you might have heard of, and those are not small books. So I think maybe getting a head start on Insomnia instead of trying to do Insomnia and that book in January might be a good idea. So we'll see. That's kind of what I got planned right now. And then obviously, keep working away on the manga. I do plan to finish Berserk in this time, at least the Falcon of the Millennium arc, and do that review. I know a lot of people who are here for the Berserk stuff have been asking about that. And yeah, that'll probably happen then. Like I said, Sci-Fi September and Spooky Season have kind of taken priority, and then I'll get back into it. And by November, I'll probably have that review up. And then I'll be moving along, guys, to Vinland Saga, a series I'm very excited to check out. So that's kind of what's going on right now. Guys, what are your plans for the fall? Drop in the comments and let me know, and I will talk to you there.